how big a factor you think is the demonization in the Philippine context of the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act? Kasi marami lumalabas na misinformation if not outright politicized disinformation against this law. Sasabihin nila, eh, dahil sa batas na yan, talaga maiisip ng mga kabataan na predisposed to behaviors like this na, teka, pwede naman pala akong pumatay kasi lusot ako sa batas na yan eh. Diba? That's clearly a fake news, diba? A piece of fake news. Pero do you see that as a possible factor? Baka nga merong epekto na ganun yung fake news about this piece of legislation.
Yes, and that's very unfortunate because the juvenile justice welfare that we provided in the Philippines is very, very progressive, but it makes young people accountable to the delinquencies that they are committing. Right? Hindi sila scot-free. Mayroon silang pananagutan. Unfortunately, ever since nung inception nitong batas na ito, mayroong paniniwala na hindi mamatay-matay na itong batas na ito ay very soft on crime and scot-free yung mga bata and hindi sila accountable. Right? Ang paniniwala nila kasi sa accountability is yung punishment, yung punitive accountability. This law is actually very strong on accountability. Though yung kanilang definition ng accountability is rehabilitative accountability. Right? And yung batas, lalo na nung siya ay na-amend, mayroon yung section 20A na nagsasabi na yung mga bata na involved sa serious offense ay mananagot at pwede silang makulong, right? Through voluntary commitment, right? So may ngipin ang batas na ito. Very strong siya on accountability. Pero dahil nga sa success nitong mga detractors, mga fake news peddlers, dumarating sa isip ng mga bata na maaaring makabasa ng mga fake news nito na hindi sila accountable, na hindi sila magkaroon ng punishment, right? And so, tama ka dyan, it feeds to the wrong notion, and then it basically gives them the justification to act out and to commit violent crimes. Kasi akala nila hindi sila mananagot. And then later on, marirealize nila, hindi, may pananagutan naman pala sila. So yeah, we need to really overcome the fake news. We really need to stop spreading this fake news para sa ganon, yung batas na ito ay talagang magkakaroon ng ngipin.
Opo. Tsaka syempre even din, no, miski merong ganong impression na kung makagawa ako ng krimen, lusot ako sa batas na yan, that is clearly fake news, no, sa mga viewers po natin. You still have to cross that threshold eh, di ba? Yung parang point of no return of committing such a crime, hindi po ba? Hindi simpleng pagnanakaw, hindi simpleng pangungupit, kundi yung heinous crime eh, di ba? Yung pumatay. Kumbaga, you still have to cross that that Rubicon, so to speak. And yun yung factors na binabanggit nyo kanina. There are many different factors that can influence that. Puntahan po natin yung isa, no, Prof. Yung mga nananawagan na dahil sa mga ganitong pangyayari, dapat i-lower na yung minimum age of criminal responsibility. Yung mga nagsasabi 12 years old, sinasabi na iba 10 years old. Ano po tingin nyo rito?
Para sa akin, yung 15 years of age is already very good enough, right? In fact, may mga ibang bansa na 16 pa nga ang kanilang minimum age of criminal responsibility, right? Kaya ako naniniwala na yung 15 years of age, it is because hindi pa fully developed ang brains ng mga batang ito. Research do suggested that hindi nila alam yung tama at mali. Hindi pa fully developed yung kanilang executive functioning, and so very limited yung kanilang understanding ng consequences ng kanilang behavior. And makikita mo na lang ito dito sa mga bata na nakapatay. Akala nila wala silang consequences yung kanilang behavior. They are really quite clearly misinformed, right? So hindi pa talaga develop yung kanilang thinking process. Pero yung kagandahan dito sa ating batas na ito ay, kumbaga, hindi ibig sabihin na wala silang criminal liability, wala silang accountability. mayroon pa rin, right? Though yung accountability nila, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, is much more rehabilitative, right? Kasi ang goal talaga ng batas na ito is wag maulit yung pangyayari, and at the same time, magiging sufficient warning siya sa iba. Now, kung sakaling magkaroon tayo ng reaksyon na i-lower natin ito to 12 or even make it lower to 10 years old, right? Ano yung mangyayari? First of all, kahit na i-lower mo yan, kung yung causes of criminal behavior, right, ay hindi natin siya na-address, na nabanggit na natin kanina. First is yung family upbringing. Second, yung access to social. Kahit na i-lower mo yan, hindi rin yan maintindihan pa rin ng mga bata. Kasi kumaga deterrence ang theory na gagamitin natin eh. And when deterrence theory is applied, the assumption is thinking yung criminal na they weigh their behavior based on cost and benefit. But we know that young people have limited or bounded rationality. Hindi pa fully developed yung brains nila. So, kahit na napaka-punitive, kahit na napaka-severe ng penalties, hindi yan maintindihan ng mga bata. And pag hindi yan naintindihan ng mga bata, they will still commit a crime. Now, kapag hinayaan natin yon and we lower the age of criminal liability, then we are going back, we are reverting back to old practices na nangyari before the law batas nito. And I still remember those days, right? Na tinutrato natin ng mga bata bilang mga matanda, right? Hulihin natin sila, dadalhin natin sila sa mga jails, right? Hulihin natin sila at mabubulok sila sa loob ng kulungan. And what happens that if we have that punitive accountability at hindi rehabilitative accountability, these kids, right, will simply rot in jail, be exposed to criminogenic tendencies, and they will be worse off, right? Kaya mataas ang recidivism rate natin noon sa mga bata. Balik-balik sila sa kulungan at lalong nagiging hardcore criminals sila by the time they are 18, 21, 25 years old, and then very, very hardened criminals na sila after that. So, para sa mga nananawagan na ibalik ang age of minimum criminal age of responsibility to 10 or 12, all right? Balikan natin yung pinaggagawa natin, right? And balikan natin yung mga panahon that our facilities are overflowing with juveniles that are unreformed, unrehabilitated, and it creates a bigger havoc to our community because now they pose high incidence of public safety.
Okay. So malinaw yung spirit ng batas, no? Pero pag-usapan po natin yung application. In particular, in terms of rehabilitating itong mga children in conflict with the law. Sa pag-iikot nyo, kasi isa po kayo sa mga talagang very, very active dito sa pagreforma ng ating prison system dito sa Pilipinas. Kumusta ba yung mga bahay pag-asa? Maayos ba yung mga
That's a very good question.
properly staffed ba yan? Nasusunod ba yung modules o yung standards set by the law to be able to achieve the purpose of rehabilitating a child in conflict with the law?
All right. Very good question, Christian. Kasi yan yung kadalasan na hindi na napag-uusapan. Ang ganda nga ng batas, pero yung implementation nito ay medyo salat at kulang pa rin. Unbalanced and hindi pantay-pantay ang mga bahay pag-asas natin nationwide. Alright? May napuntahan ako mga bahay pag-asa tulad ng Muntinlupa. Nakapunta ako doon around 2 months ago. Binisita ko. 4 lang yung kanilang kliyente. Pero napakaganda ng kanilang facility. Mayroon silang para sa edukasyon, mayroon sila para sa arts, mayroon sila para sa discipline, mayroon sila para sa health. Napunta rin ako ng ilang beses sa Mulave, sa Quezon City, right? Ang ganda rin ng bahay pag-asa nila doon. Though mas marami yon, around 200 sila nung pumunta ako doon. It's a 5 floors, pero they are very active in educational programming and livelihood and many others. Unfortunately, having said that, mas marami pa rin ang mga bahay pag-asas natin na kulang ang facilities, kulang ang resources, kulang ang personnel, and because of this, very, very limited ang programs. In fact, mayroon pang mga local government units, may mga provinces and cities pa na wala pang bahay pag-asa. And kung walang bahay pag-asa, nakikigamit pa rin sila sa mga jails. Doon sila nakukumit, doon sa mga local city jails na
Which defeats the
bibigyan na
purpose.
lang ng isang selda. Alright?
Hmm.
So, again, before natin laitin tong batas na ito, alright, siguro ang mas magandang tignan natin is paano natin isakapatuparan itong batas nito. Because in instances that it works very well, right, nagiging, kumbaga, maganda ang epekto sa mga kabataan. Right? Doon sa mga cities and localities na pansin ko, mas nagiging mababa ang kanilang victimization rate and juvenile offending rate.
Ayan. O sige po. Professor Raymond Narag, maraming salamat po. No? It was very, very enlightening and I hope talagang ma-improve natin yung ating response sa mga ganitong insidente. No? And of course, maayos kung ano po yung pagkukulang lalo na sa implementasyon ng batas.